of about 95,200 vehicles. We believe we are well positioned to continue growing total production and deliveries in Q3. That's TSLA Tesla. Shares of Tesla are spiking here, $229.
What's going on?
Popping 229.
You guys can't
now.
You can't hear me?
That's up about $5
Avi,
after hours.
Obi, One Kenobi.
Tesla says we do not plan to disclose customer vehicles in transit metric going forward.
So you got some Tesla news out, and a little
now
spikeage
on those sales numbers.
Sales numbers. I know a few of you were waiting on that. All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to mute Algo Jesus here. It'll be a quickie today. I'll take a couple of questions at the end. Maybe go over some names, but no reason to drag it on today. I know it's a holiday week. Mostly just degenerates left. So congratulations if you're in attendance today. Let's talk a little bit about the market quickly. Obviously, we got a holiday week. I think it's a half a day tomorrow, right? Wait, tomorrow? Yeah, half a day tomorrow. So action was light today. Nothing really went on today. You had some movement early afternoon. Rumors of there was actually several geopolitical headlines or chatter out there today that created some movement, but had a lot to do with the light volume. We didn't see too much flow, especially in individual names. We weren't seeing too much flow outside of the early morning. There were, there was a nice patch of SPY. I think it was same day expiration or weekly expiration SPY put sweeps throughout this downdraft. But that was the extent of it, and for the most part, the whole afternoon was quiet, and I mean, all in all, yeah, if this was a full week, legit week, you probably get that grind higher, you probably get that grind higher with some flow behind it. But what are you going to do? It's going to be quiet, probably the rest of the week, even after the holiday and all. Here is some of the top action we had today. Oh, one more thing I wanted to share with you guys that we've been seeing. We've been seeing a lot of this. Probably going on, a couple of weeks now, around there, where, dead, chop throughout the day, nothing really going on, and then into the ding-dong, they're putting some money to work. This will show it better and cleaner. See that chart up here? This is mock, basically, with all the dollar amounts here. But you could see, right? And that is earlier in the year, the rally. We were seeing a lot of that through the early stages. You go look back, even as the market was pushing higher in 2018, before they started rolling over in October, okay, you could see a lot of selling into the bell even prior to the market rolling over. All right, so again, I don't really trade off it. A lot of us, especially on private Twitter, been looking at it on a day-to-day basis, but been coinciding with strength of a rally. You can see once the buying starts to die out into the bell, right? And not one day per se, but once you see a trend of that, usually that's where rallies have a tendency of stalling. And I don't know, what I've noticed is individual names can get really difficult. A lot less broad, and that's usually the case later in rallies. So I just, before I forgot, I wanted to share that with you guys. I know a couple of you guys have been asking for today's some more buying. What was the mock? Mock was around 800, I think, 670. So yeah, a light day with the holiday and all. Here is, where do we go? There were some other names. Yeah, the exact opposite of last year, exactly, with the end of the day buying. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Smart Money Index, which is probably on every platform, it's pretty popular. A lot of people call it the SMI, or Smart Money Index. I think that's what makes up the indicator, if I'm not mistaken. I think it also includes buying off the open. I think that's included in the Smart Money Index. So if you're curious or interested in that, you may want to take a peek at that. Here, in my opinion, was the top action on the day. Okay. There's only one, well, actually two new names on here. The rest was repeat activity. There was some other action around this throughout the day. Just nothing jaw-dropping. You know, maybe want to keep an eye on certain names that caught some action. One that built up, I'll mention it first before I forget to. CG Carlisle Group started off, you know, nothing to get excited about, but just throughout the day, they continued to add to a pile of calls there, and ended up trading about 20 times normal activity. And you can see stock doing something right, been heading in the right direction. So that's CG. I made this list a little earlier in the afternoon, so I didn't get a chance to add to it, but CG would be another one I'd throw on there. Let's start with the first one, EIX. That is a utility. And between this and PCG, this has been their two favorite utility names to play. PCG, more on the spec side, even though PCG has seen some size orders, right? Some big orders. But PCG, a lot of rumor, weekly stuff included in it. EIX has been the other utility they play, but a lot less action, but better looking action. And today, they hit it again. The last time they hit it like this, I'm trying to see on the chart where it was. I mean, they started buying it here with the PCG. I'm going to have to check a date. I don't even want to give wrong information. But my favorite line out of today's action, this is that September line on the top there, almost an $800,000 opening sweep. You could see they hit August calls, swept multiple exchanges for that line as well. And July calls also saw some activity, but just the sweeper activity wasn't as good looking. All right, that's why I didn't include it on the list. I personally played some Septembers. Did I play Septembers or August? I think I played Septembers. All right, I also had some stock, but I ended up taking a pop in the middle of the day. I was planning on swinging some calls and some stock. You know, I was going to try to get a little clever with the stock, more for a trade than anything else. But I got a nice little pop here that I took it off into. All right, so in my opinion, that was the best round of action of the day. HDS, another new name, decent size for this name. You know, it's not bad size-wise. It didn't convince me to get involved yet, but I'll take a look at it. You know, I like this type of setup. We're trying to bottom here off earnings, but let them convince me. You know, let them convince me. But if you already like the name, August 40s, and then there was a smaller sweep after that for September's later on in the afternoon. All right, Yondanks. This is, you know, not in buy territory per se. It's not initial activity. A lot of you know Yondanks has been absolutely littered with size call sweep reactivity. Into these lows, if you guys remember, they were early, they were underwater. I know they had to roll down strikes at least once, but this stock has made a real nice comeback, basically right at, what is this, right at highs, almost. This is a Russian internet name. All right, they got hacked the other day, and the stock was down a couple bucks. I think this day right here, but came right back. So today, I didn't swing any of this. I day traded it. Mostly, I was looking for the ponytail pump on CNBC. That's what I traded it into. Jan calls was the primary target there. There was also a little put selling, and there was some smaller, cheap, weekly spec action that kind of brought my attention for the ponytail pump. All right. But again, not a new name, and this is much higher levels than where they started to buy this thing. All right, so make sure you're not just looking to trade it off low. Here's another one. There's a good handful of names I can't understand how I have nothing to show in these things. I don't own this. I don't know why. But Katos, I know why, but the flow has been ridiculous. You guys know Katos, a defense name, under the hood name, absolutely tattooed. This thing doesn't even, prior to this year, this name hardly, you would never see a sweep in this thing. Never. Now it's basically every week. Similar to that tanker STNG, almost a mirror image. STNG might even be the better of the two action-wise, but this Katos has been red hot in the right sector, right? A defense name, security. You can see got out of control here. A little bit of a breather, and she's already back at new highs. I know a couple of you are in it. Well, were in it coming into today. Maybe you decided to yank it, but caught some more action today. And for me, guys, these have been the names that I've done well with, especially recently. It might be a personal thing. I have more confidence because I feel pretty good when I'm impressed with the action, that it's initial activity. It's clean. Unlike, let's say, Microsoft, that, how many Microsoft sweeps have we seen, right? And unless it's off a pullback of some sort, I can't really have the confidence to try to make a dent, buying this thing up here off sweeper 685. So the rotation into, some of the things like a Katos and all that stuff, especially recently, PGR, I had some of that coming into today. I got out of it. That's the stuff I've done well with personally. And a lot of it has been equity rather than the calls. All right, but the under the hood stuff has been interesting and less relying on the market a lot of times. If the market needs to, take a breather, got too hot, and you're concerned about that. A lot of times you'll get these under the hood type names that really couldn't give a rat's ass, excuse my French, what the market's doing. So that's the other good thing. All right, so Katos, you Katos fans, August 25s, that was the one sweep, and there was a little more action behind it. And the last one on the list ended up probably being the most aggressive activity throughout the day. And you guys know, repeat action, AMRN. How many times have we spoke about this name? Got a little bit choppy of recent, right? Into this little consolidation. Another name that's had a killer run, pull, back to new highs, breather. And, this has just been constant buying throughout, even the consolidation. They bought some recently. There was some put selling recently. Today, I assumed they were just going to roll but I didn't see too much closing activity. We'll see what the open interest looks like. They were banging all day, at least early on in the day. Look at this order here, September 20s. You know, you can't see that down there. Nice size. That was the largest of the bunch today, and a lot of action around it. I tell you this, what did help, you had a ponytail pump here too. So you had the Nigerians pumping on CNBC. They've mentioned this name several times in the past as well, but that added to the fire. And look at the strength throughout the day. I only scalped it into the ponytail pump. There was some spec action, and then as they go to commercial, mentioned a biotech that's catching crazy action. So I knew it was Amarin. So that's where I played it. I kind of scalped it. It wasn't even a trade per se, but this thing was strong, throughout the whole day. All right, and steady action. So that was the best action today. There was some other selective individual stuff, but more, in my opinion, just to keep an eye on, unless you're eyeing the technicals. Expedia caught an October sweep. That was okay. The stock's been red hot. Look at Expedia. This Expedia couldn't get out of its own way for a while. As you guys remember, this was a big mover. Remember Expedia? I mean, it used to be Expedia and Priceline, right? The two big ones. And then Expedia's gone, disappeared off the face of the earth. So you had an October sweep, big run here though. So you're kind of chasing, but worth keeping an eye on if you're interested in the name. And that goes, that's going to go for a lot of these things. So perfect segue. My impression on the day, aside from being light volume and, a holiday week, I think it would have stood out even more if it wasn't a holiday week and there was some real volume in the markets. Basically, what we were seeing the rotation to, I remember a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about how the smart money hedgers were stepping on the gas in the industrials, and then we started to see signs of a rotation into that trade war trade, right? All that stuff. It looked like they were, profit taking or undoing a bit of that rotation, kind of rotating back maybe into some of the other stuff again. You could see like the semis, right? The semis were weak today. I don't know how weak Caterpillar was, but Caterpillar was due for a breather, and a little breather here. So that's kind of what went on today. Again, rotation. We'll see how long it lasts. Again, it's going to be skewed with a holiday week and all, but something to keep an eye on now that we're post G20. All right, we'll see what happens. A lot of us have mentioned we want that rotation to stick, right? Because in our opinion, there's a lot more upside in all this stuff than the tech names that are so crowded, right? The software names, ZS saw a little bit of action today. Again, this thing is up at the moon. So we're kind of hoping the rotation sticks. It's normal for a day like today, for example, where they rotate back, right? It's not just constant rotation one way or the other. Things need to breathe. They constantly rotate, and that's what's going to hold up a market. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, the flow will tell us a lot, like it has in recent days. One more thing I want to, the other thing I wanted to mention is that, believe it or not, we're going into the heart of earnings season before you know it. All right, so you got to keep that in mind. We may see some good looking order flow out there in individual names, but just understand they could be flat out earnings bets or hedges or stock replacement. All right, so we're going to have to deal with that crapola once again. It feels like it never goes away. All right, so my answer to that is, again, going back to just being quicker. And I'll give you an example. Let's say ZS catches action I like out in October. but they're reporting in July. There's no reason for me, if I'm going to play an earnings run up, to play October, right? Because I'm not holding through earnings. So you might as well just play July, look for that run up, and trade that. So that's the only things I wanted to add about earnings season. Just make sure you have an idea, and they don't sneak one in on you, and you get an earnings warning and get annihilated here. All right, because it's a real pain in the neck, and that's going to be in general as a whole. We might not be able to see that clean cut rotation like we have been looking for and have been seeing. So we probably got to put our traders hats on a little bit more. Just as I was enjoying the flow and the individual name activity, now I'm going to have to be nimble. And for swing stuff, if it's too much earning stuff, I might go back to, taking little shots on the ETFs here and there. Anybody have any questions or any action that caught their eye today? Anybody see anything interesting out there today that I haven't mentioned yet? I had a nice win on AMRN. Wow, nice, Ani. I know that's a name you're familiar with. Oh, you got a lot of AMRN fans. Yeah, that's been, it catches size orders, right? Nice sweeps. And, when she moves, it does it all in one bulk, in one shot. Etsy, good call, Maria. That was one perfect example. I'm not, is it an earnings bet? I know Etsy is known for catching these good looking orders right around earnings, and if I'm not mistaken, that order catches earnings. You do have some time though. August 7th. And what was it? An August sweep, right? Yeah. That's what I mentioned in the room today, because it was a good looking order. It was definitely a good looking order. But Etsy's been known for catching these pre-earnings bets, and then you never see them outside of earnings, So I get a little suspect when I see that. But if you like the stock and you're just looking for maybe the activity to get some juices flowing, right? Some momentum kicking, you got a decent spot here. That's what we were talking about today. So it's not bad. Definitely could find worse out there. OSTK. Yeah, OSTK had action. Usually catches a half decent sweep here and there when she gets hot. Nothing really too good looking today, but it was active. It was active. I'm surprised this thing didn't really, really heat up with Bitcoin doing what it's doing. I know everybody tells me every time I mention this stock, oh, it's a pump and dump. It's a piece of garbage. I understand that. But, this thing can move and you catch it on dips off a sweep. It's been a nice trade here and there. William saying, I day traded Disney and holding the Katos. Yes, that's right. You're in Katos. Nice. Nice job. Yeah, Katos and STNG, as far as like under the radar type names, those are probably 1 and 2 as far as action is concerned. If not, maybe the best action, you got SE and names like that. But the way they trade, those 2 names have been ridiculous. What else moved that I'm trying to think about stocks that I missed that a bit. Oh, you know which one I wanted to play? And I mentioned it in the room today. 6, Great Adventure. I liked the spot. The sweep was a beauty. This thing doesn't catch much sweeper activity. And I thought, I'd have time. But then what happened, I think the next day after the order caught an upgrade and it was forcing me to chase, I didn't. And then look at this now. They hit it right here. I mean, that's a nice move. So that's kind of one I'm kicking myself in the rear end. Yeah, I see you guys talking about biotechs. Maybe biotechs, if we get some rotation into biotechs, that'll be nice. Offset some of the earnings nonsense. KPTI, that had a little action today, right? I think that's been a hot one, hasn't it? Oh, not really. Wow. Yeah, so maybe we'll get some biotech action to keep us occupied. McBob's talking about Facebook. Yeah, that's the problem, McBob, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Like here now, I can't have the confidence off the sweeper activity that I could a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? Not only the run, so much action, so much action. Now I don't know how legit, and the likelihood is they're rolling chunks of it. Yeah, so that's where it creates a little bit of a pickle. But if you like trading these names, especially this type of market, you get weakness and you get some sweeper activity into it. For a trade, I'm talking about, you like to trade these names. You don't have to be afraid of a lose, especially when you got the market in decent shape like we've had. Yeah, that was it. The one, I tell you, the one opportunity to really try to swing the stick was off that nonsense. The big sell-off here was at I think it was over here. Well, you only had this recent one here too, but that was a nice dip. But anyway, you get dips in this thing, in any of these things that are littered with flow, as long as you're seeing the action there. Make sure you see the action there, because you don't know, something bigger may be taking place. What else? Sentiment wise, I see a couple of you guys talking about sentiment. I would say on a short term basis, we're kind of in no man's land right now. We're in no man's land, a little bit on the hottish side. I know the put the call actually played itself out a little bit, so that's okay. But some of the other indicators we look at, just based off recent price action, they're going to be on the hotter side of things. The more important thing, in my opinion, is not only intermediate term sentiment, I think positioning, and it's amazing. We were talking about this on the Sunday webinar. You look on like Twitter and on CNBC, and just the lack of people not even paying attention, to sentiment and positioning. And I'm biased, obviously, but you guys know I'm a flow fanatic too. But if you put a gun to my head, I think sentiment's the most important thing in this game. I really do. Like if I didn't have an idea where sentiment was at, I'd be lost. I would have no idea. I could pretend and make my forecast. That's why you guys, you hear me all the time. I'll never make a prediction of what's going to happen 6 months out, or like these lunatics trying to predict what's going to happen this year as a whole. Tell me where we're at. Tell me where the riffraff money is lined up, right? A couple days before, or tell me where the smart money is a couple days before, and I can give you, an honest shot at it, right? But without that, how do I know how things are going to line up? Yeah, exactly. That's what's going on now. That's what's going on now, in my opinion. And I think that's what's held up the whole market. Like, Bob, to be honest with you, it sure isn't fundamentals, right? It's that bearish bias out there. And, you look at, any measure out there, okay, as far as positioning now. I'm not talking about speculation and trading. I'm talking about positioning. Everybody is positioned with a defensive style to it. Everybody. There's no all-out risk on that you normally would see at tops. Exactly. They're all positioned for a recession everywhere. So, and a lot of people like to throw the word melt up around too loosely. okay? And that's always a possibility, okay, that the market melts up because of that positioning, right? Because the logic is people are, underexposed to equities. So if they have to scramble and get in, okay, that could create a nice melt up. And you usually see that at the tail end of bull markets, okay? But in my experience, what I've seen more than happen than that, dips being bought. I think that's what you take away from players being underpositioned in the equity market. Dips, dips are, immediately bought, right? And that's one common thing we've seen, especially this year. Like this was the one pullback that felt the deepest in a sense, but look what happened, right? Look how quick in the short amount of time this thing took to get back to new highs. So that's I think the biggest takeaway, and what we got to keep in the back of our mind each and every time we're looking at those readings and those indicators. That's just a reminder to the type of backdrop we have in the market, right? It doesn't tell us, sometimes we get sentiment signals, right, where we get excited and we want to get long right now. But I think that what I'm talking about, the backdrop and the positioning end, when I'm posting those sentiment charts, those are just reminders that, listen, if there is selling, you don't want to get wrapped up into the noise and build that strong bearish bias, because you're going to get run over. You're going to get run over. And not only that, you're going to miss some great opportunities on the long side. You're going to miss some great opportunities on the long side. And that's what I mean, like this, for example, okay? Whether they're large dips or short dips, like this little dip here, okay? Very easily, a lot of players could have built, a pretty strong bearish bias that it was time to go south, right? And that ended up creating a decent spot of entry if you were looking to get long something. And a lot of you have, right? A lot of you have individual names or the market. I know Joey in the room made a nice hit on SPY, which I think he's getting to the point. I don't know if he's out there where he don't want to play anything else. I can't blame him. But that's where the money's made. So what we worry about is when all that flips. Okay, when we start seeing the positioning flip to the other side. All right, that's where I think we got to, I don't know if concern is the right word, but be a little more cautious in getting caught, in something bigger. But right now, the way things are lined up, whether they're quick like this or they last a little longer like this, we got to wait for the opportunity and we got to look for longs out of it. But to sum it all up anyway, right now we're kind of in no man's land because we've rallied here a bit. All right. And, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we get a little breather and set up something out of that. Look, I think my focus from here is individual names right now anyway, to avoid, the market. But we could grind higher, no doubt. What else? Anything anybody else wants to add before we wrap it up? I'll let you go to your barbecues. Are you guys going to be around tomorrow? What time do we close, McBob, tomorrow? 1, right? Yossi, the put flow is keeping you by but you have me telling you to not pay attention, well, not to not participate in the put flow. So why would that keep you bearish bias? You see, and that's the thing, Yosti. I mean, don't you think, like, if I thought there was easy money to be made off put flow, that I would play the short side? You don't think I'd be doing that? Don't you think there's a reason that I'm not playing the short side off flow? You know, here's the problem, I think, with a lot of people. They're looking for something to confirm their bias. You know, that's what they do. I think that's what bears are notoriously known for doing. You know, they search for something instead of letting stuff come to them. They're looking for something out there that'll confirm what they're feeling. You know, so for me, you know, and I've shared this many times with you, to try to catch a short, right, for a trade is not worth it. I'd rather wait, even if I got to sit in cash, let them reel in bears, right? You know, we ad nauseum talk about how in bull markets they reel in shorts and bears just to run them over. It's fuel for the bull market, right? A bull market's nothing without shorts to run over. You guys realize that? All the big moves happen when they reel in bears. But you know what I think it is too, Yosti? Here's the other thing that I learned early on in my career, and I'm grateful for. Okay. Yeah, McBob, and that's a good point too. But I'll talk about that as well. What I learned early on in my career is there was no way that I was going to end up being a good enough trader to play both sides. See, I think that's what a lot of you think you're capable of. And there may be one or two of you out of the 100 on this webinar, there may be one or two of you that can do it successfully. Okay? But that's it. And I'm not exaggerating. That's it. It's not too many players that can play up and down every single day and make money consistently in this game. Yosti, historically, you've proven you can't. Historically, it's proven hardly anybody can. 9 out of 10 players can't. Don't take it personal. You know, but the thing is, once you acknowledge that and you're honest with yourself about that, you know, once you acknowledge that and you're honest with yourself about that, it makes things a lot easier. That's the thing. You know, that's the thing. Once you're real with yourself, okay. And again, I'm not saying there are no players out there that they can't play both sides. Obviously, there are. But you know, you're relying too much on yourself as a trader, I think, right? You want to be that superstar trader, and I think that's where you could get into trouble in this game. I think you'll know early on, you know, early on meaning, you know, the first few years in this game, you'll know a lot about yourself and what you can and can't do. Okay, it takes a rare bird. And here's the reason why, Yosti. We talk about it all the time, right? If you're making money on the put side, okay, and you all know how difficult it is, right? Ask McBob, ask Lucci, who have been playing the put side for years, right? And how they unravel their put position so quickly because they can go bad, all right? You're testing waters, stopping yourself out, testing waters to catch that move, okay? Yeah, while you're doing that, how the hell are you going to get out of the way of this? And not only that, hop on, flip long to make money on the long side. Do you know how difficult that is? All right. And even the players who have done it from time to time, who play the short side, if you ask them and they're honest with you, you know, they'll tell you they've missed monster moves to the upside because of it. Monster moves. You know? Exactly. Because you know what it is? You're getting a taste. You're making some money, right? The money comes easy in these downtrends, in bear markets especially. So you're making that quick money. You're making that quick money. Okay? Think about all the emotion, the psychology that gets wrapped up into it. You don't want that to come to an end. You don't believe it when it comes to an end. That's why so many players out there off the December lows, right? They didn't believe in the rally till up here, all the way up there. They didn't believe in this whole move. Can you believe that? This whole entire move right here to this point. They didn't believe this rally was real. Why? Because they didn't want to. Because they made some money in this downdraft. And that's what they wanted. That's what they were positioned for. And they didn't participate in any of this. And you know what happens now? Any little down move, what happens? They think this is coming again. Think about how mentally effed up you are off that. And then people want to know, and I get this question a lot, okay, because obviously I don't explain it like this, but I get this question a lot. Well, Jesus, why don't you play puts from time to time when there's no call activity? That's why. I don't even want to taste it. You understand? It's like doing a line and you like it, God forbid. Right? You start putting that shit up a nostril and you take a liking to it, your life's over. That's what it is. You know? And so many new players in this game who think they know this shit, right? They think I'm talking out of my rear end, but I've seen it. I've seen it time and time again. The majority of players that aren't around anymore that I've been around playing this game, two reasons they're not around. Margin, buried them alive, obviously, or short. You know, everybody else concentrated on longs primarily. They found a way to hang around. That's the reason. That's the reason. But yeah, and you know, I know Yosti because I know you're in the room. I know you're okay, and I know you're holding your own at the least. But I'm just saying, when you come to the realization that it's not worth it, that's the point where you got to say that's it. That's it. I'm going to concentrate on what I feel good about, what I'm confident about, what I know I can make money with, and just wait for that. And that's where the discipline will come around, because you're waiting for your opportunities now. You're not, that's what a lot of people, they want to come in, right? Fire up the screens. All right, I'm going to find a way to make money today, no matter what. The market doesn't give a shit what you want. But the discipline comes on its own where you're waiting around for your stuff to set up, whatever it is, right? You may just be an SPX player and you're waiting for that sentiment setup. You guys, we talked about that, right? Every time it happens. The best trade out there is when they're reeling in all those bears, right? And then we get all those sentiment indicators flashing green. And there's a big squeeze on the horizon, right? God forbid you risk manage your money the right way and just play that. God forbid. And the funny thing is, a lot of you guys are realizing that now, right? A lot of you guys are striving to do that now because you're seeing what I'm talking about now, But you got to be honest with yourself. That's the key. You have to be honest with yourself. If you're going to think you're going to be Jesse Livermore, who ended up committing suicide and broke, by the way, but if you think you no matter how many shots you shoot, right, and you're going to be Michael Jordan, and you keep striving for that, the likelihood is you're going to be disappointed. You'll know if you're Michael Jordan a lot sooner than later. All right, so that's your Wall Street Jesus sermon for the day. Take that to your barbecue and share it amongst your friends and family. Tell them, make sure you share the yayo line with them up the nostril. I'm sure they get a kick out of that. All right, so we'll see what happens. Tomorrow's Degenerate's Day. I'm going to start labeling tomorrow. Only the diehards will be around till 1 o'clock looking for some chatter sweeper or something out there to play. Maybe we'll get lucky. Something will pop up. But as always, guys, always a pleasure. If I don't speak to a few of you, enjoy. Have a safe 4th of July. Stay away from the bottle rockets and M80s. Chat room chatter, exactly. We need some chat room chatter tomorrow. All right, but happy holiday week to the rest of you. All right, and I'll see some of you tomorrow. Be good, guys.